The biggest. The heaviest.
Fuck. It's stuck on the track.
The most. And the most expensive goods on Earth. Everything people can move. On land. On water. And in the air. Record-breaking, stunning, global. They are mega transports. It is the biggest container ship in the world, the OOCL Hong Kong. She has the potential to change the transport business forever, to drive many other transport ships out of the market and to conquer the 7 seas. No other ship moves as many containers as she does, but only if her maiden voyage is a success. The OOCL Hong Kong must reach her destination safely and on schedule, a risky race against time. She has never been tested on the high seas before. This maiden voyage is a true mega transport, and it will demand everything from the crew.
This is a very challenging thing to bring out a new ship like this.
The route goes through the Suez Canal and through pirate territory.
At sea, no one can help you.
A mega transport on the high seas. Now. Koche in South Korea. It is the busiest shipyard on Earth, as big as a small city. Over 35,000 people work here. They are building 6 container ships of the new premium class, a value of $950 million US. These new mega transporters are a massive challenge for engineers and shipbuilders. More than 21,000 containers must fit perfectly into the cargo area. Any mistake would not get noticed until loading and could have catastrophic consequences. Do-Chin Choi surveys the cargo area. He only has this one chance. Once at sea, it will no longer be possible to make improvements.
If the ships get bigger and bigger, it means for me there are a million things more to check and get right, especially with a container ship. Precision in all measurements is the most important thing during the construction. Our work really seals the fate of the ship.
Do-Chin Choi uses a special 3D scanner. He will do everything possible to ensure no measurement errors are made. For him, it is a question of honor. All the same, his team checks every loading berth with a test container.
For me personally, I'm incredibly proud to be working on this gigantic, record-breaking vessel, and I want to get it right. It is really one of a kind. We put all the newest innovations in this.
Her 5 sister ships are still being built, but the OOCL Hong Kong is ready for her maiden voyage. She is about 400 meters long. In comparison, the Titanic was only 269 meters. The biggest container ship in the world even outshines the Empire State Building. It can load 21,413 containers and transport more than 191,000 deadweight tons. That corresponds approximately to the weight of 336 A380 airplanes, an inconceivable record. 12 tiers of containers can be stacked below deck, and 12 more on the upper deck. One single man is responsible for the ship, its crew, and its cargo. He must bring one of the biggest marine transporters of all time safely to its destination. If he passes this test, he will be considered one of the best captains in the world. Lam Chung Fat was brave enough to take the job.
This is the biggest one I've been on. The last one that I was on in this company was only 13,000 TEUs. And this is like a big jump. So actually this is a very stressful job, although you don't see me running around or anything, but actually there's a lot of things happening behind. The engine must be running properly, the cargo are in good condition, we're on schedule, stuff like that. So it is very stressful, but you have to find time to relax yourself. And one of my favorite things is to come out here to just look around and just feel the breeze on your face and in your hair.
One last deep breath, then the OOCL Hong Kong will set off on her maiden voyage. With him on board is his dear friend Lim Keng Hock, the chief officer. His job is to make sure the crew functions well from the very beginning, and he must do so on a ship that no one knows.
It's quite hectic because we just left the shipyard, and so we have to bring them up to speed. So we have to keep on training, and there's a lot of work to do.
The first task for the officer and his team, to raise the anchor. On small ships this is no problem, but on the biggest container ship in the world, it is hard work.
Hong Kong forward, how is the cable?
Yeah, stand by.
The anchor's weight and its cable make sure that the ship does not drift or tip over. There is one anchor on each side of the ship's bow.
Okay, Roger.
Roger, forward chief mate, please bring the anchor home.
Everything on this ship is oversized, bigger, heavier, and thus also more ponderous and slower than on other transport ships. Anchor and cable together measure over 770 meters in total and weigh more than 440 tons. Lim Keng Hock and his team must work safely above all, but also as fast as possible. That is the only way for the OOCL Hong Kong to capture the top position in the shipping business.
Dead slow ahead.
The mega transporter's maiden voyage lasts about 30 days. The first destination, Shanghai, the largest port on Earth. After that comes the first ordeal on the high seas, a voyage to Singapore. There, the OOCL Hong Kong will load its final cargo. Its route then takes it to the Suez Canal. The narrow passage is a risky maneuver and the toughest test for ship and crew. In Rotterdam, the largest port in Europe, the maiden voyage will come to an end. Yangshan, the deep water port of Shanghai and the mega transport's first stop. 13 million containers are loaded here every year. It is not only the biggest, but also the busiest port on Earth. 30 ships can dock and load at the same time. And precisely that will be a problem for the OOCL Hong Kong. Two hours from the port, Captain Lam Chung Fat is tense. No wonder. It is his first berthing maneuver with this gigantic ship. He has requested a local pilot.
The pilot boat is approaching. Get the CNAB to rig the starboard side pilot ladder 4 meters above the water.
The pilot must bring his small boat alongside the mega transporter and jump onto a rope ladder at the right moment.
The pilot boat may be moving up and down a lot, and this is quite risky for the pilot. So for the pilot, this is one of the most risky part of his job actually to get onto the ship.
Indeed, there have been many fatal accidents during bad weather and rough seas. Pilots have fallen from the ladder, drowned, or been crushed between the ships. Thankfully, the sea is quiet today, and the pilot comes aboard uneventfully.
Hello.
This is the first berth of this vessel, right?
Yes.
Everyone at the port is already pretty excited.
As soon as the pilot is on board, he becomes a member of the crew and has the same rank as the captain. From now on, he gives the orders. With the aid of tugboats, he maneuvers the mega transporter into the port.
Number 2, push slowly.
The OOCL Hong Kong is a gigantic challenge for the pilot as well. Captain Lam Chung Fat must trust him blindly.
Here I still can understand some Chinese, but in some other ports I absolutely do not understand.
Number 1, hurry up.
The captain knows the 7 seas, the pilot only this one port, but he knows it inside out. Water depth, sandbanks, and other dangers. But he does not know the OOCL Hong Kong, and the berthing maneuver is difficult. For the berth is between 2 container ships. The parking space is narrow, very, very narrow. In theory, the maneuver is quite simple. 3 tugboats push the mega transporter slowly and carefully towards the quay wall. The greatest danger, if they push too forcefully. The OOCL Hong Kong cannot stop. She would hit the quay wall and, in the worst case, could capsize. Captain Lam Chung Fat can only stand by and watch as the pilot walks the tightrope.
Number 1, stop. Number 2, push slowly. Wind is strong.
Engine stop.
Number 1, stop. Ten meters.
Stop the bow.
Stop bow.
Speed is good. Don't go too fast. Keep going slowly.
Hong Kong off.
The wind is strong.
The stern is coming slowly to the jetty outside. Watch carefully.
Number 2, stop.
The berthing maneuver is complete. Normally reserved, Captain Lam Chung Fat sounds relieved.
This is textbook. Slowly.
Yeah.
It's good.
First burst, you must slowly, not very fast. Safety first, huh?
The mega transporter loads more than 4,000 containers here in Shanghai, including highly sensitive cargo like deep frozen goods and hazardous materials. Cranes raise the covers from the cargo cells. Now the OOCL Hong Kong's true size is revealed. At the same time below deck, Chief Officer Lim Keng Hock must make sure the loading goes smoothly. For him, it is less a job than a dream come true.
I've been at sea for 35 years. So ever since I was small, I live on an island in Malaysia. So as a kid, I always see ships, cargo ships. So I always thought one day I might work on one of these ships, and finally I'm here.
His first task, to check the manifest and all available information about every individual container. What is being loaded? Where is it being loaded? And what does that mean for the OOCL Hong Kong? If cargo weight is distributed unevenly, it could cause a catastrophe. The mega transporter's steel frame could bend. With over 21,000 containers and 200,000 tons of cargo weight, Lim cannot commit one calculation error.
We have to make sure that everything is loaded as per the plan. Different colors are the port of discharge. We are going to Gdansk, Felixstowe, Rotterdam, and also Germany. The workflow is quite large, I would say, and it's challenging, so you need to be very focused. Hong Kong third mate, chief mate calling.
Yes, should just go ahead.
Yes, the cargo plan is ready. You can come to the office. Over.
Lim Keng Hock must not only make sure that the containers are put in the right place, but also that they are loaded in the correct order. If the crane operators make mistakes here, one side could become too heavy, and in the worst case, the ship could capsize. To keep this from happening, the OOCL Hong Kong has gigantic water tanks. When empty, she can take on up to 65,000 tons of seawater. At port, this ballast can be pumped between the individual tanks to maintain balance. As more cargo is loaded, the OOCL Hong Kong pumps the water back into the sea.
If it's within limits, then we are fine. But the optimum objective is to have minimum ballast, so that we just carry cargo and have optimum trim, so that we can move at a very good speed.
Hello, Chief.
Yes, third mate. Everything fine?
Yes, everything is fine.
How many cranes working?
7 cranes working, Chief.
Okay, this is the loading plan for this port. All the reefers, we have 14 reefers.
Okay, loading 14 reefers.
Yeah, this is according to the manifest, so check ventilation.
Okay.
And DGs, we have quite a lot, 66.
60,
So ensure all labels are okay.
Okay, label and the position according to the day plan.
Yeah. So just check the moorings and everything is okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any
Thank you,
problem,
Chief.
give me a call.
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Sneakers, laptops and televisions, but also DG, dangerous cargo like chemicals. All this and much more is now on its way to Europe. In only 30 days, the mega transport is scheduled to arrive there. The next leg of the voyage, 4 days on the high seas. On their way to Singapore, crew and ship will encounter many dangers. The cargo must get to Europe as quickly as possible. The mega transport will only be profitable if the OOCL Hong Kong sticks to its schedule. But this ship is about more than profitability and money, more than engineering and technology. This ship arouses emotions, at least in Chief Officer Lim Keng Hock.
When you look at the ship from a distance, you will be quite amazed at how big the vessel is. But when you're on board, you get used to it. I have this affinity to shipping. And so even up to now, I still find it's, even though it's challenging, but I find it's a rewarding career. So at the end of the day, when you sign off, you're quite a happy man.
In contrast to many other container ships, the OOCL Hong Kong can load an additional upper tier of containers. But it only works with exceptionally complex securing mechanisms.
This piece over here is a semi-auto twist lock. So it's used to secure the deck containers together. We can stack 12 tiers on deck. So 4 pieces of this are fitted on the 4 ends of the container. And it's heavy, and we have 24,000 on board. So you can imagine the number of containers we can load on deck. So this is loaded automatically, and when during discharge, we have to manually open them so they can be discharged. And this one over here are turnbuckles.
These struts secure the containers to the lashing bridges and to one another. Every day, the crew checks whether they are tight enough. A storm or high waves could cause them to waver or even rip them off the ship. The securing equipment and related technology costs over $1 million.
So as you can see, the crew now, they are checking and making sure that everything is at the right position, and all containers that have been loaded is lashed down properly.
One part of the cargo requires special attention.
Reefer engineer, chief officer calling.
Yes, Jimmy. Now we go to check reefer.
Okay, Roger.
Twice a day, electricians check the reefers. They always go in pairs, as no job may be done alone. The danger is too great that a crew member might fall or go overboard. In the worst case, it would take hours before such an accident were noticed. These reefers transport valuable food. They function like a refrigerator. They are fully insulated and have their own cooling unit, which is connected to the ship's power supply. The electricians must check every individual container and its temperature.
Reefer engineer, come in. Reefer engineer, chief officer calling.
Yes, Jimmy.
Yes, how's the condition of all the loaded reefers?
Now all reefer is okay.
Fully loaded, the mega transporter consumes nearly 9 tons of heavy fuel oil per hour. Fuel is thus by far the largest cost factor of this kind of intercontinental transport. Ultimately, such a transport must be profitable for the shipping company. Thus, the captain uses every possible trick to travel as economically as possible. Weather, wind, and more.
The idea is efficiency. Maybe not necessarily the shortest route, but actually we also take advantage of currents to help us get better speed. And of course, the whole target is to conserve fuel and, of course, then cost.
At the same time, in the engine room. The engine block is 9 stories high and has over 100,000 horsepower. This is one of the biggest and most powerful diesel engines in the world. Li Wai-chi is chief engineer on board and must keep this tremendous power generator under control. But he too is getting to know the OOCL Hong Kong for the first time. To understand how the ship reacts, he and his team collect all the data, recording every revolution and temperature. Anything that could be of use in an emergency.
Main engine is a new type and it's a good engine. So far so good. But of course we still have some minor problem. That's why service engineer, they try to collect data and then try to improve.
He shares his data with the engine builder, who is always improving his products. The goal, to reduce fuel consumption and emissions.
Like the ship is big or small, I still try my best to work. I'm happy because I'm also a green man.
The night before the OOCL Hong Kong reaches Singapore, a critical night. A pirate area stands between the crew and safe harbor.
We take precautions as per the industry standard, so it is risky.
The crew goes through the emergency plan for such situations. Usually, there are no weapons on board. The men could only shoot at attackers with water cannons or lock themselves in.
Remember, if anything wrong, just press the alarm and then come. And then also, don't leave any door. Oh, I just go. Maybe 5 minutes, I come back. No, not alarm. We must lock.
Everyone senses what no one says out loud. The biggest container ship in the world on its maiden voyage is an attractive target for pirates. The ransom for the captain is enticing. With a ship this size, it is actually unimaginable. But pirates could indeed come on board with grappling hooks and take the crew hostage. 5 hours in the danger zone. Nothing to see. Only pitch black night.
We need to keep the light condition as low as possible in order for us to get the best visibility outside. So bright lights is out, so usually we get red lights, which is actually good for the eyes in terms of night vision at night.
Suddenly, the second mate sees something on the horizon. A boat with no identifying marks. Not one, but rather a whole fleet. And it is on course for the OOCL Hong Kong.
Port side, maybe a border.
Captain Lam Chung Fat sends a warning signal.
Captain Sandra is ready now.
Yeah, you can flash at him.
Okay, flash.
Give warning.
Okay.
Hopefully, it is fishermen and not pirates. If so, they would react to the signal and get out of the mega transporter's way.
Because he's flashing the light.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Indeed, only a couple of fishing boats that had strayed off course.
230. 230. Unfortunately, at sea, we have rules of the roads, but smaller boats and they don't really follow these rules. So when we see something that is quite close to us, we cannot wait until they take action.
The danger zone has been crossed. And the OOCL Hong Kong has reached the port of Singapore unscathed. It's the last port before the 2-week non-stop journey to Europe. Time for the mega transporter to refuel. Heavy oil for about 1 million euros. And more containers are loaded on board.
Order forward 10 meters ahead.
The special challenge. Some containers from China have reached their destination here in Singapore. Others are only beginning their journey to Europe. That means loading and unloading at the same time. Mega transporters like the OOCL Hong Kong need ports that can keep pace with them. Ports that can load more and more containers faster and faster. That's why Singapore has invested in a smart port. From this command center, the containers can be moved by joystick. Many cranes are remote controlled. Operators choose the crane they need at the moment. That means no people, no pathways, no danger of injury. Camera and sensor technology makes loading precise and quick. The OOCL Hong Kong is now fully loaded and on its way to Europe. Someone has sounded the alarm. It was the chief officer. Lim Keng Hock wants to know how his new team works under pressure.
Emergency squad to command squad.
Emergency squad, this is command squad, go ahead.
We know the nature of emergency, over.
Roger, there is fire at bay 30 and row 08 near the high piers, over.
Roger, fire at bay 30. Okay. Portable monitor. Go. Your two guys help them.
Within seconds, the team must be ready for action. For in an emergency, a fire could reach hazmat containers holding acid, gases, and fuel. This drill has only one goal. The crew must be able to get around the new ship blindfolded, above all, in an extreme situation. They must know the shortest pathways and overcome their fear of heights in an emergency. To extinguish a fire, the team must climb to a height of nearly 20 meters, unsecured at full speed and in heavy wind.
What we fear most is a fire on one of the containers on deck, as it can spread very fast. So as you can see, we can carry up to 12 tiers on deck.
The biggest challenge, pulling the heavy water hoses up to the vertiginous heights.
Behind the turnbuckle. Who behind the turnbuckle?
Up top, the team mounts the water cannons.
Hydrant Bay 31, stand by.
The OOCL Hong Kong can pump seawater up to a height of 36 meters. The crew doesn't know what exactly is in the containers, a real problem.
I heard of fires which lasted for 3 days. So it's quite tiring to fight this kind of fires. So you need proper equipment and you need a good team of people.
Below the containers, Chief Engineer Li Wai-chi prepares for the emergency.
For seamen, most frightened is fire. Once fire, no one can help.
If the cargo below deck catches fire, the team cannot extinguish it with water. Li Wai-chi would have to evacuate all the rooms and flood them with the contents of about 800 CO2 canisters, thus smothering the fire. By doing so, he would also paralyze the entire ship.
That's the last resort. Once we put this in, then maybe 24 hours, the ship is cannot move because no oxygen, combustion engine, no oxygen cannot move. So before we release this, captain usually put the ship in a relative safe place and then we release. Because for 24 hours, maybe we don't have any power.
Back on deck.
Hydrant 31, open! Monitor Bay 29, shoot to the center! Shoot to the center! Monitor Bay 29, are you ready?
Hose ready.
All station, all station. The drill is over, fire extinguished. All stations, stand down, over.
After this successful drill, the mega transporter resumes its course. Two routes lead to Europe: the long way around Africa and the short passage through the Suez Canal. This route saves a lot of time and fuel, but the journey through the extremely narrow canal is risky, especially for the biggest container ship in the world. For about 150 years, the Suez Canal has been amongst the most important waterways on Earth. But cargo ships continue to get longer and wider and have a deeper draft. That means the canal must get bigger too. Above all, its depth is crucial. A new additional canal section has been opened since 2015. Nevertheless, the passage is still one of the most difficult maneuvers in seafaring. But whoever wants to remain competitive in the shipping business must confront the canal. That includes the OOCL Hong Kong. No ocean giant is allowed here without an escort. The Suez Canal Authority pilots every single cargo ship through the narrow passage. An extreme responsibility rests on the shoulders of the pilots and their commander, Captain Mohammed Fawzi Abdelkader. Through the eye of the needle, for 193 kilometers, Captain Fawzi monitors the ship's passage through 15 checkpoints.
How many vessels are expected today?
45 vessels, 20 entering from the south in Suez and 25 vessels from Port Said, with a total tonnage of 2,527,000 tons.
Shipping companies pay high fees for their ship's passage, varying according to their weight. The OOCL Hong Kong's passage costs around $1 million.
The Suez Canal is the backbone of the Egyptian economy, and we are trying everything we can to attract the largest number of vessels to pass through the channel.
An accident would be a catastrophe, not only for the OOCL Hong Kong's maiden voyage, but also for the canal and thus for Egypt's economy. The passage simply has to be successful.
The process of navigating through the Suez Canal is a really sensitive and difficult process. It's really hard and requires a lot of experience to guide the ships through, especially container ships. A big challenge for the pilots is climatic factors such as sandstorms. They hinder the vision of the pilots so they can no longer see the sides of the canal.
A look below the water surface shows that the canal is deep enough for mega transporters like the OOCL Hong Kong, but only in the middle. The pilot has only a few meters of wiggle room to the left and to the right. The moment has come. The greatest ordeal of the mega transporter's maiden voyage is imminent, and Captain Lam Chung Fat can do nothing. His hands are tied.
When we are inside the canal, this is actually one of the concerns because the canal is narrow and shallow, and there's very, very little margin for error. They have hopefully very good pilots there.
In point of fact, the Suez Canal's 300 pilots are among the best in the world. Before being allowed to operate a mega freighter, a pilot must have trained for 15 years. Pilots train their wits and agility using a simulator, which portrays ships of every size and all conceivable weather conditions and scenarios.
Course now.
For 033.
040.
040.
Starboard 20.
Starboard 20.
طبعا بيبقى في دماغي وانا طالع.
I need to think about 100,000 things at the same time. Wind, current, engine, rudder, everything. I need to feel the whole atmosphere and become one with the ship.
لازم ابقى حاسسها قبل ما اطلع المركب.
In a real situation, there is no second try. While the others train, Chief Pilot Farouk Fouda makes his way to the OOCL Hong Kong to guide it through the canal. He grew up in Germany.
The captain needs perhaps 4 or 5 months on a ship to know how it reacts, how it moves. I have to know in 1 minute, right away. If I don't go to starboard, what happens? Port, how much rudder do I need? How much power?
He has seen how the canal and the ships that pass through it have grown. Farouk Fouda suppresses all nervousness. His more than 40 years of professional experience help him keep cool in view of the mega freighter and the task before him.
There is no tension, no. You can't be tense. Otherwise, you have no control over the ship. You always have to have strong nerves.
He'll need them now on the OOCL Hong Kong. OOCL stands for Orient Overseas Container Line. Founded in Hong Kong in 1947, today this shipping company is one of the biggest in the world. The ship's name is thus no coincidence. The company intends to write history with it. Farouk Fouda comes on board just in time. He literally has everything in hand. Will he manage to write a new chapter in the history of the trade route between East Asia and Europe? From this point forward, he is in command. The passage lasts about 11 hours. On average, 49 ships traverse the canal every day, grouped into convoys. The pilots have to coordinate speed and the distance between ships perfectly. Otherwise, there could be fatal collisions. The OOCL Hong Kong is the biggest ship that has ever tried to pass through the canal. The outcome of one of the biggest sea transports of all time will be decided here, in the Suez Canal. Captain Lam Chung Fat can only stand by and watch.
This ship is much bigger than the other ships, so usually in my heart I silently pray.
Everyone in the control room is holding their breath too. Finally, the biggest container ship in the world leaves the narrow canal. The Mediterranean is in sight. Chief Pilot Farouk Fouda has once again demonstrated that experience is golden. At over 70 years old, he has set a new record and brought the biggest container ship in the world through the canal.
I've done a good job if the ship arrives safely and uneventfully. It feels good, makes me happy.
The OOCL Hong Kong sets course for Rotterdam. It passes through the Mediterranean and the Straits of Gibraltar. 21,000 kilometers halfway around the world. She reaches her destination almost perfectly on schedule. Hundreds of spectators show up to watch the majestic finale of her successful maiden voyage. They want to witness a true mega transport. It is perhaps one of those proverbial moments one can tell one's grandchildren about.
How can it even move with so many containers on deck? How does it stay afloat? And when I heard that it will come to the port of Rotterdam, I just had to come to see it with my own eyes.
This maiden voyage demanded everything of the crew. Proud but visibly exhausted, Chief Officer Lim Keng-hok gives the signal to berth. About 200,000 tons of consumer goods from Asia have reached their destination in Europe. Captain Lam Chung-fat has been at sea since 1983. This maiden voyage was the greatest challenge of his career. He has met the challenge.
I think we did a good job, you know. I mean, this is a big ship. We carry many containers. We have to also thank the team that we have on the ship as well, yeah. I couldn't think of anything else I'll be doing, I mean, for the past 30 odd years, yeah. So it's a good job, yeah. I'm pretty proud about it, yeah.
Captain Lam Chung-fat will command the OOCL Hong Kong for another 6 months, along with his friend, the Chief Officer. The OOCL Hong Kong sister ships will also be in regular service between Europe and East Asia, the most important trade route in the world, in the past, present, and future.